Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a Japanese drama movie called Voice Love. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The show begins with a girl named Yuiko, who is ill and resting at home. It turns out that her high school began a week ago, but she has been unable to attend due to a common cold and fever. Soon after, Yuiko receives a call from a boy who introduces himself as Matsubara, the class president. He inquires about her health and advises her to only return to school after she fully recovers. Yuiko has never met him before, but when she hears his voice, she experiences an unexpected attraction. She assures him that she's feeling better now and will return to school tomorrow. For now, she is going to Matsubara to Matsubara. The next day, Yuiko arrives at her new high school, eager to meet Matsubara. However, she is not fully recovered and begins to feel lightheaded in the hallway. A guy spots her walking clumsily and asks if she's okay. Yuiko recognizes that it is Matsubara's voice, and her heart starts racing. She assures him that she's fine and gently raises her head to look at his face. But to her shock, he's wearing a paper bag over his head with a face drawn on it. This confuses Yuiko, but she tries to act normal and doesn't dare to question him about the bag. Matsubara then notices that she hasn't completely recovered and takes her to the infirmary. However, the nurse is missing, so he tends to her himself and places a wet cloth on her forehead. The mysterious bag boy then asks her to promise not to push herself too hard from now on. Yuiko agrees, and they seal their promises with a classic pinky swear, disappointing that he doesn't have a little mini bag on his pinky. Later, when she returns home, she recalls her time with Matsubara and begins to blush with happiness. The next day, Yuiko finally feels better and goes back to school. She worries that she will not fit in with her new peers, but when she sees Matsubara outside, she feels calm. They enter the school together, but someone takes a picture of them and sends it to the student council president, Makoto. Upon receiving the picture, Makoto is furious with Matsubara for violating school rules by wearing a paper bag like a weirdo. Meanwhile, Yuiko meets with her best friend Aki, who went to the same middle school as her. They begin chatting and both wonder why Matsubara is wearing a bag over his head. The other students in the classroom are also perplexed, thinking he is strange and scary. Since Yuiko doesn't dare to ask him herself, Aki decides to take matters into her own hands. She approaches Matsubara in class and bluntly asks why he is wearing a paper bag over his head. But the boy is left speechless by the unexpected question, and doesn't know how to respond. At this point, Yuiko sneezes loudly and draws the entire class's attention. She then uses the opportunity to introduce herself and begins discussing her likes and dislikes. She mentions that her favorite dish is udon noodles, but no one responds. After an awkward silence, Matsubara steps in and mentions that he also enjoys udon noodles, even though he has no way to eat them because of the freaking bag on his face. He then urges his classmates to accept him for who he is, assuring them that when the time comes, he will reveal his true self. Later, the students gather in the gym, where Matsubara impresses everyone with his basketball skills, even though he has no peripheral vision because of the friggin' bag on his head. Not long after, Makoto arrives with some student council members and confronts him for breaking school rules by wearing a bag over his head. He claims that they cannot trust someone like him and demands that he take off the bag to reveal his true face. However, Matsubara refuses, so Makoto summons Yuiko and asks if she knows what kind of guy he is. The girl is too terrified to respond, so another student named Midori speaks up. She defends Matsubara and reveals how helpful and caring he is toward everyone. It turns out that Midori is the class's second president and also has a crush on Matsubara. Since she is the daughter of the school's director, Makoto calms down and decides to leave for now. However, he warns Matsubara that he'll return soon if he does not stop his act. Later, Yuiko expresses regret that she was unable to defend Matsubara when he needed her, but Aki asks her not to be so hard on herself, as it is just the first day of school. Yuiko then realizes that she knows very little about Matsubara and decides to get to know him better. The next day at school, she begins observing him and notices how kind and friendly he is in class. He never yells at anyone, and even when people are rude, he treats them with respect. As Yuiko continues to observe him, she gradually starts to develop deeper feelings for him. One day, Makoto confronts Matsubara again and scolds him for failing to follow the rules despite numerous warnings. He orders the boy to remove the bag immediately, or he will do it himself. As Makoto approaches closer, Yuiko suddenly grabs his arm and insists that Matsubara is a very kind person. However, Makoto ignores her words and is more dumbfounded that she touched his arm. It turns out that he has never touched a girl before, so he becomes very nervous and quickly walks away. Later, while Matsubara is alone in the classroom, Midori approaches him. In a flashback, we see that they had taken their entrance exam together, and that is when she fell for him. In the present, she expresses gratitude, saying that he has inspired her to be herself. Midori reveals that she was always worried about how others perceived her because she is the principal's daughter, but after meeting Matsubara, she found the courage to be true to herself. She then tries to get closer to him, but at this moment, Yuiko shows up. Our heroine is taken aback by the two of them being so close, and she fears her crush is interested in someone else. But it's hard to tell, because he's got a bag on his face. Elsewhere, Makoto is still enthralled by Yuiko's touch on his arm, and begins to have a crush on her. The next day, Midori brings some colorful paper bags to Matsubara, suggesting that he could change his style. This leads the other classmates to assume that they are dating, which makes Yuiko jealous. Later, Matsubara approaches Yuiko and asks her which bag she thinks looks best on him. However, she responds that he looks good enough as is, and does not need to change. The shit brown bag is hot enough. That night, Matsubara reflects on his time with Yuiko and realizes that he has started to like her. The next day, he appears wearing the same usual paper bag, but he has drawn a cheerful smiley face on it. When his friend Kagaya asks what's going on, Matsubara explains that Yuiko appears to be down these days, and he just wants to cheer her up. However, his friend advises him to be more direct and invite her to lunch so they can spend time together. Elsewhere, Yuiko is approached by Makoto, who wants to ask her out, but he is too nervous to say anything and starts acting awkwardly. This makes Yuiko assume he's angry at her, so she apologizes for touching his arm and hurriedly leaves. Later, Matsubara approaches Yuiko and invites her to have lunch together, which she happily agrees to. They then proceed to the rooftop, where they share their meals and start chatting. During their conversation, he asks if she's not curious about why he wears a bag. Yuiko admits that she is, but she respects his decision and will wait until he is ready to tell her. In the meantime, Makoto arrives at Yuiko's classroom to meet her, but she's nowhere to be seen. As he prepares to leave, Midori suddenly stops him and says that Yuiko is having lunch with Matsubara. This upsets Makoto, but Midori tells him not to give up so easily. She also suggests that he propose to Yuiko, but Makoto says he'll do so when the right time comes. Hearing this, Midori feels very touched and decides to confess her feelings to her crush. Later, she texts Matsubara to meet her at the library, stating that she has something to tell him. Meanwhile, Yuiko goes to the student council room to meet Makoto. She is very nervous, fearing he might have summoned her for punishment, but to her surprise, Makoto apologizes for being rude and says he didn't mean to scare her. The two then begin to chat, and Yuiko requests that he give Matsubara a chance, saying that he's a good guy. Although Makoto isn't interested in Matsubara, he pretends to agree and promises to speak with him soon. In another scene, Matsubara meets Midori in the library, where she asks him why he wears the bag on his head. He responds that he can't tell her right now, but will reveal the reason to everyone eventually. Midori then asks if he has feelings for Yuiko, catching him completely off guard. He nervously denies it, but Midori understands his feelings and chooses not to confess. The next morning, Yuiko gets up early to prepare a pumpkin dish for Matsubara. May as well make it eggplant. But when she arrives at school, she overhears some girls gossiping about how Midori confessed to Matsubara in the library yesterday. This upsets Yuiko. However, she decides not to let it discourage her. She then attempts to give Matsubara lunch and approaches him while he's playing outside. However, she is soon struck by a ball and knocked to the ground in front of everyone. Shortly after, Yuiko approaches him in the hallway again, but he's too busy helping a classmate. During lunch, a disappointed Yuiko heads to the rooftop and feels foolish for making the meal for Matsubara, but just then, he suddenly shows up, which immediately changes her mood. She finally gives him the lunch she has prepared, and he graciously accepts it. After this, they sit on a bench and start talking about various topics. Matsubara tries to touch her face, but Yuiko gets extremely nervous and ends up sneezing, ruining their moment. This embarrasses the poor guy so much that he makes an excuse and bolts. Later, as he's having lunch alone, Kagaya appears. Matsubara then opens up to him about what just happened with Yuiko. He explains that he tried to touch her face but couldn't, as he feels he can't do much while hiding behind a bag. At the same time, he is not ready to reveal his secret to her yet, namely that he has a dick for a nose. Kagaya then spots a poster outside a restaurant and suggests that Matsubara should go on a barbecue picnic with Yuiko during summer vacation. This would give them enough time to get closer and know each other on a deeper level. Kagaya also brings up rumors about him dating Midori and asks him to clarify them with Yuiko. Meanwhile, in class, Yuiko overhears some girls discussing Matsubara and Midori's relationship, which makes her feel jealous. But at that moment, Midori shows up and clarifies that nothing is going on between them, and they're just classmates. She then turns to Yuiko and asks if she can help her take out the trash, to which the latter agrees. When they are alone, Midori admits that she likes Matsubara, but has decided not to propose to him. She says Yuiko can pursue him if she wants, because she wants him to be happy after all. Hearing this, Yuiko is shocked and realizes how pure-hearted and kind Midori is. On the other hand, Makoto also approaches Matsubara and confesses that he likes Midori. He states that he will fight fairly for her and will win her over. This astounds Matsubara, who wonders why Makoto is telling him all of this, but the latter just walks away without providing an explanation. Shortly after, Matsubara and Yuiko come across each other, and he immediately clarifies to her that he isn't dating anyone. He also invites Yuiko to a barbecue picnic during summer vacation, which she gladly accepts. The scene then cuts to the picnic day, where Matsubara, Yuiko, Kagaya, and Aki head to a riverside and have fun as they enjoy their time together. Matsubara and Yuiko grow closer, and he also gives her a gift to thank her for the delicious pumpkin dish she made. Perhaps you'd like to try my pumpkin next. Soon, the summer vacation is over, and their new semester is about to start. But unfortunately, Yuiko falls sick and has to miss classes again. When Matsubara learns of this, he decides to pay her a visit, as he's the class president. Upon reaching her house, he feels nervous to knock, as he has never been to a girl's house before. But just when he's about to leave, he runs into Yuiko's mom, who instantly recognizes him. "Oh, you must be that loser with the bag," and invites him in. Once inside, Mom reveals that her daughter has always been prone to illness and expresses gratitude to Matsubara for looking out for her. Shortly after, Yuiko gets up from her bed and comes downstairs for lunch, but when she finds her crush sitting at the table, her jaw drops. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.